Welcome to Jumping In, the short-form series of the Jedburgh podcast. I'm the creator and host, Fran Racioppi. Each week I speak with transformative leaders, visionaries, drivers of change, and those dedicated to winning no matter the challenge. Our long-form series goes deep. Our short-form series allows us to jump in fast, explore some of today's most prominent topics, catch up with previous guests, or give you my opinion on what's happening in the world today. And just like our Jedburgh teams of the past who jumped into occupied France the night before D-Day, we get the information out and we get off the drop zone. The Jedburgh podcast is sponsored by Jersey Mike's Subs. Together, we share the mission of giving back. We're partnered with Talent War Group, a management consulting and executive search firm focused on helping you optimize the people side of your business. A percentage of all proceeds is dedicated to the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. Visit us at jedburghpodcast.com, follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube, and subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. We're over the drop zone. We got the green light. Now it's time to jump in. De Oppresso Liber is the motto of the Green Berets. It means to free the oppressed. I'm honored in my life to have been selected to serve in the Special Forces Regiment. They set the standard for excellence. There's a commitment to mission, and there's bonds that are developed through the hardest times. And I believe they've made and keep America the symbol of hope throughout the world. When I was down at Sandlot Jax, I had the opportunity to jump in and catch up with two other former Green Berets who continue to serve the regiment well after their time in group. Brent Cooper is the executive director of the Green Beret Foundation. Kevin Edgerton is the founder of 18 Alpha Fitness. He joined me on episode 40 to tell his story, and he's an important friend and a sponsor of the Jedburgh podcast. Brent, Kevin, and I crammed into the back of the World War II British Royal Air Force Land Rover Defender to discuss the mission of the Green Beret Foundation. We talked about their focus on supporting Green Berets of every generation in conflict, their Next Ridgeline military transition program, and how they recently gained accreditation by the Department of Veterans Affairs. I also asked Kevin and Brent to share their personal stories of entering Special Forces. Brent talks about how to support the Green Beret Foundation. Most importantly, we talk about the Green Beret expectation of excellence and why that standard is carried forward by all former and current Green Berets, regardless of what you do in service or after. Check out our videos, our pictures, all our content from Sandlot Jax on our website, jedburghpodcast.com, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, our YouTube page, wherever you get your podcast. Hope to see you there. Brent, Kevin, welcome back. Well, welcome, Kevin, back to the Jedburgh podcast. Brent, welcome to the Jedburgh podcast.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
So we're here at Sandlot Jax, getting you in here to talk about the Green Beret Foundation. Kevin, as I mentioned, has been on. He was on episode 40. Founder of 18 Alpha Fitness, has been a tremendous partner and member of our Jedburgh team. And now it is truly an honor to bring you in here, talk about the Green Beret Foundation, something that is near and dear to all three of our hearts, coming out of the regiment, and the work that you guys are doing. And you have been there now for 3 years as the executive director. Talk to me a bit about the goal of the organization, where it's come in the last 3 years under your leadership, and what is the focus?
That's a broad question.
Yeah, it is. I always ask broad questions.
That is broad. I'll give a macro overview, and then we can drill down a little bit. When I came on board, it was a transition period. We redid the logo, redid the website, complete operational change of everything. Went down to 4 staff. So it was 4 of us driving the train, headquartered in San Antonio.
We're in Florida, so Texas being the other bastion of freedom.
Yeah. Love Texas.
You guys both live in Texas. I live in Connecticut, sorry.
Right.
I have to say that.
But when I came on board, I think what I saw was the foundation had already done so much good since 2009. Yep. But what I saw was they were just kind of doing the same thing year after year, which isn't necessarily bad. But when I looked at it, I come from more of a for-profit background. A lot of my experience, I spent more time in the corporate world than I did in the Army when I was in. And so what I looked at was, if we're not growing, we're dying. And there were things that we weren't doing. We were just helping the same amount of Green Berets every year. And so for me, it was like, that's not enough. So immediately, the new board that came on, we started discussing, hey, if we're really going to do this, we're really going to grow and sustain a foundation, we have to help all Green Berets from all generations, because we were only helping post 9/11 Green Berets and their families. And that was just set up based on funding, our capacity, and set up in 2009.
Yeah.
And so the objective was, let's get to a place where we can help all Green Berets from all generations in all different facets and based on our programs of what we're providing. And so that's really the objective for the last 3 years, has been getting to a point where we can do that. And just late last year, we announced, our objective. We call it the Pineland Initiative, something we're all familiar with, right?
Yeah, we've all spent time in Pineland.
Now listen,
Me a little bit more than most. I've done it twice.
Yeah, no, that's true. You have gone to Pineland twice.
Yes, I have.
and we had discussed internally in the staff, right? Let's think of a name, what resonates with every Green Beret from every generation. And for us, it was Pineland, right? It conjures up this, everyone's got their own mythical idea and their experience of what Pineland was. And so I think that was kind of like the glue of, hey, when you say Pineland, every Green Beret knows what that is.
Yeah.
And it was really just the initiative was, hey, we're going to honor and support all Green Berets now.
And there's so many that have come before us. I mean, Jason McCarthy and I did episode 56 together that released the day before, the Thursday before Sandlot Jax here. And we spoke a lot about the regiment. Right, and the allegiance to the regiment. We joke Kevin's been in the regiment since it existed, I think, and probably started
1952. 1952. It's right.
He was there. He was there when they donned the first berets.
Yep.
Did you know Kennedy?
He was in that picture with Kennedy.
Yeah,
he was in the background. I saw him in that black and white picture.
But so many have come before us, and the organization that sits today, in every way, is a testament to the work that they put in. How come? How did we get to a point where we didn't take care of it, or just wasn't on our mind?
Are you talking about specifically?
Yeah, I'm talking about including everybody.
Oh, including everybody.
Yeah,
I think that was always the objective, but for a nonprofit, it came down to funding, right?
Yeah.
For simplicity, supply and demand.
right.
I mean, we didn't have the resources or funding to open up the floodgates for everybody, because if everybody requested support, we didn't have the ability to do that. So we tailored it just to post 9/11, but it's like that wasn't enough. And so now, we help active duty, retired, separated Green Berets and their families, which is very important. A lot of times people just think we're helping Green Berets, but a majority of our support are for families, the spouses, the children that endure and sacrifice so much.
And the Gold Star families.
And the Gold Star families, Gold Star and surviving families. So that's a significant portion of how we help. And so our program pillars, just to kind of throw those out there, we really used to, we do casualty support.
Yep.
So we're helping guys at the time they're injured.
And it's important, too, to note that the majority of soft casualties that have occurred have come out of the Green Berets.
Yes, 60% of all casualties since 9/11 have been sustained by Green Berets. 60%.
Wow.
Most people don't think that, right? And a lot of it's because you don't hear about it, don't talk about it. But the ones that are getting injured the most, sustaining the most injuries, are Green Berets. So the casualty support program we have is specifically for that, guys getting injured, whether that's in training or downrange. And then our health and wellness support, anybody that's enduring, TBI, traumatic brain injuries, PTSD, substance abuse, anything in the health and wellness category, which is a myriad of issues. Family support, which is a broad term though, but any time a family is enduring a hardship, we'll step in. Gold Star and surviving families. And then we have a huge initiative right now, which I'll talk a little bit about, we can get to, is our transition support. But I would say the focal point of what we do is cover financial support or non-financial support of what the VA or insurance doesn't cover, which is a lot.
Yeah. Well,
they're very particular about what they cover. Sometimes they help tremendously, but oftentimes there's a lot of stuff they won't cover, and especially whether it's active duty or retired, we'll step in and we're able to help them.
how many people are in the program in some some level of support or another?
Well, since inception, we've helped over 15,000 families.
Wow.
So it's not a membership-based organization. As a private nonprofit, we get our funding from private donors, and then we're supporting the entire regiment for people that have the needs.
Yeah.
So it's variable, but we're dealing with several, thousand per year of support.
Wow. And Kevin, you've been involved with the organization for some time as well.
Yeah, I go whenever they had a Go Ruck event. I'm there. Book signings, I usually go. Bourbon tasting, I'll go. So yes, I go as much as I can because I live in San Antonio.
Yeah.
Then we all just meet up at Long Tab Brewing afterwards. Shout out to Dave and Mike.
Yep. Dave Holland. Yep. Mike Brown. Great guys. And we do a lot of events nationwide. The majority of our events are run by third party, just passionate people that love our cause and they want to put on an event. And so we'll help facilitate on the back end, whether it's through marketing or help collecting donations.
And importantly, by bringing Green Berets to getting them to the event so that they can experience. I mean, a lot of the events that you're talking about are experiential.
Exactly.
We were talking about the angler event, and I think that those forums, when we talk about community, I want to ask you about the transition initiative, because transition is something that comes up a lot and is one of the things that you don't think about when you're in, and often you don't think about it until you're completely out and you're looking in the rear view mirror going, oh shit, I've left everything I know behind me, my friends, my team, these people that I've spent more time with than my family and have endured so many things. But it creates that community, and that community is what binds us together.
Heck yeah. I mean, that's the bloodline of Special Forces is our community, right? That brotherhood. The transition space in particular, right? So I mentioned that's very important. And I'll tell you, when I came on board 3 years ago, people may have heard of it. We have the Next Ridgeline program, which is our transition program. We call it Next Ridgeline, right? Yeah. Terrain feature, Star Course. But what we were trying to develop this incredibly arduous transition program where we're doing everything for individuals. And what I realized was, we don't need to do everything. We already did some things really well, and now it's just about, hey, what are we going to do? What are we going to be unapologetic about what we're going to do and unapologetic about what we're not going to do?
Because it's hard to say no.
It's hard to say no, absolutely. So it's like, what's our competitive advantage? I still look at it that way, even from a nonprofit. What are we going to do exceptionally well? And for everything else, let's just partner up with program partners out there, other organizations, other nonprofits that are already doing this stuff. And so we partner with other organizations in the transition space. But what we do exceptionally well now is we are an accredited service organization with the Department of Veteran Affairs. We're the only soft benevolent organization that's accredited by the VA. In the last 10 years, they haven't accredited anybody. In the last 20 years, only like 3 organizations, and none of them soft. And so what we started doing, I mentioned we had 4 employees 3 years ago. We have 13 now. In the last 15 months, we've just had increased. And we have a veteran service officer at every active duty group across the country.
Oh, really?
Yes, we have a Green Beret Foundation employee who's a veteran service officer at every group.
And what's their focus?
Their focus is all the guys transitioning out, 18, 24 months out. We do transition seminars, and we're helping them with their VA disability claims. And we have direct access to the VA, direct upload access. We become power of attorney. So there's other organizations out there that'll charge guys for it, which I don't want to get into, but I don't like that.
Yeah.
We'll do it for free because we have private funders that provide the funding to do that. So what I say to guys too is, and a lot of the reason the Green Berets come to us is our cultural competence. We understand what these guys have been through. We understand their needs. And so when we're doing their VA paperwork, we know what we're doing.
Yeah, there's no translation that has to occur.
Exactly. We know what we're doing. And just in the last 2 years, we've already got guys retro pay close to $600,000 in retro pay.
Wow.
Back into the pockets of Green Berets, in addition to their VA rating on top of that, their monthly compensation that they're getting.
Which is increased now.
That's huge. That's huge, man. I mean, that's life-changing for guys. We get retro pay for somebody for $30,000, $50,000. That's life-changing.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing. Our push right now in the transition space is particularly the VA disability claims.
And there's also been a huge push in honoring the fallen.
Yes.
Which I think is something that's been extremely tangible if you look at the messaging that's come out of the Green Beret Foundation. I think over the last 12 to 18 months, there's been a significant ramp up in never forgetting those who've made the ultimate sacrifice.
We have a very detailed social media calendar. We ensure that all of our fallen brothers are honored, never forgotten. And so we make sure to honor them, make sure to post about them, and honor their sacrifice. So we've got, and with that right now, if you go to our website, we have a wall of honor, a digital wall of honor. You can see everybody on there, and it's post 9/11. But as I mentioned, now that we've transitioned to supporting all, we're going to be building. We're going to be building that, obviously, to start honoring pre 9/11 as well.
Let's talk about you for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we were joking before that 5th group, 10th group sitting here in the back of the same ambulance.
Yeah. This is awesome. This is awesome.
But why? What was the drive? What was the motivation to, number one, come into the Army and serve, and then number two, make that change over to Special Forces? I mean, Kevin did it twice.
Yeah. I couldn't have done it twice. And I'll tell you, I don't think I had it in me to do it twice. But I had a little unconventional path. Like I might have mentioned, I spent the majority of my 20s. I spent all of my 20s actually in the corporate world.
Mm-hmm. Doing what?
I was in marketing, business development.
Okay.
And it wasn't until I didn't come from a military family, no background in it. My grandfather served in the Army, but never really pushed. And I had this I was compelled to serve, but I never did until I hit 30. So it was 2009. Turned 30, and I thought, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. Mm-hmm. And it was a regret I didn't want to have. And so they still have it, that 18 X-ray contract, which guarantees slots, not guaranteed outcomes.
Right. Yeah.
Put all my eggs in one basket. Signed the contract. Graduated the Q course, almost 2 years. Graduated the Q course at 33.
Well, how old are you the second time you went?
Second time I graduated when I was 39.
Oh, man. Way older.
Yeah, I was older than my battalion commander when I got there as a captain.
Well, yeah, so I was going
my
through,
group commander.
I went through basic training at 30, 31. Basic training at 30, 31 with a bunch of 18-year-olds. I was older than the majority of my drill sergeants.
I was 23 when I went to basic training.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting. It was interesting, but I think for me, I was a little more mature as far as from a mental aspect.
Definitely.
More life experience, which is really all I brought to the table.
Yeah. When we talk about effective intelligence,
right.
what you gain from just being on Earth longer.
Right. And I was very aware that, hey, I have certain life experiences. When I got to the team, it was shut up, listen. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And
when I went to OCS, that was Kevin who was telling me to shut up and listen.
Just shut up and listen. Spoke when you spoke to. Do what you're told. I mean, it was really simple to follow instructions. But I was very fortunate to get on a fantastic team at 5th Group. Mm-hmm. And my team sergeant he was a year older than me. And he's actually now currently the group CSM for 5th Group.
Oh, really?
Yep. We're still good friends to this day.
Awesome.
So, but also tells you probably what kind of team I was on.
Yeah.
We worked hard, but it was fantastic. It was a great experience. Long story short, I spent 5 years in, and I decided for family reasons, I could support my family better on the outside.
Yeah.
So got out, moved to Seattle, went to grad school, got back in the corporate world again, started the hamster wheel, and underestimated how much I missed the brotherhood and missed serving something bigger than myself. Yeah. And coincidentally, 4 years of that, and then the Green Beret Foundation was looking for a new executive director. And it was like, in an instant, 20 years of my life made sense.
Right.
It was like, man, all this, where am I, right? Mm-hmm. I spent this time in Special Forces, but not very long, but long enough to understand, the lifestyle, and I still had friends and brothers and, so.
And you combine that with your corporate experience, right?
Combine that with the corporate experience,
marketing, business school, and now you take all of that
and
put
growing
it together.
a business. Yeah. And so I remember at the time, my wife really is the one that encouraged me to apply, because I'm like, nah, they're gonna look for an officer, or they're probably this officer, But at the time, they were looking for an NCO.
They were looking for the right guy.
Wasn't afraid to roll their sleeves up and get in the mud. And so last 3 years, blood, sweat, and tears, literally, but it's been worth it. People ask me, do I love it? I'm like, yeah, I've never worked hard in my entire life, but I've never been more passionate and never felt so good.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic to help our community.
And there's some phenomenal leaders that have been involved with this organization. And when Kevin and I spoke on episode 40, we talked about General Rogers, being one, Darcy Rogers, and Kevin now famously through all of our promotion has said that Darcy Rogers was the best leader he ever worked for, and certainly up there is General Ken Tovo.
Yes,
our chairman.
So, he was my group commander. Tovo was. He was. After we got back from Iraq, gave the command to Tovo, and I didn't work directly for Tovo. That's why he's but he's a great group commander. Dorsey was just it was hot OAF3 in Iraq, and gave me the reins to do something as a second lieutenant. He was like, "You're gonna go replace a major." All right, so second lieutenant go take a major, and I had C. Jasoda of LNO into crit as a second lieutenant. I had to brief a 2-star 3 times a week and his DCO every day on all soft operations into crit.
That's awesome. It was a perfect confluence of events, because I came on board the Green Beret Foundation June of 2019. Mm-hmm. General Tovo came on as chairman of the board July, 1 month later.
Yeah, right at the same time.
So through his leadership, we got great board members. We just started turning things around. And honestly, the number one thing that was missing when I came on board was just the GBF had been through some stuff, and there was fractured trust in the community.
Yeah.
And so it was just about rebuilding trust. Yeah. The most important thing in any team is trust. In any business, in any personal relationship is trust. And so for me, the strategy early on was just, we need to rebuild trust in the community. Mm-hmm. And the only way you rebuild trust is doing the right thing, and doing the right thing all the time consistently, period.
Well, it's just, it's why Special Forces is, it is special, right? It's not because we're superhuman, right? None of us sitting here have some capability or capacity mentally or physically greater than anybody else. Actually, in this event, we are at the low end of everybody who's sitting outside of this ambulance. Right. But it's that standard. Right, it's the standard that is instilled in us that says that when we establish what is required, we don't compromise that.
I like that.
And we never accept anything below it. And yesterday I had the opportunity to sit in here with Josh Bridges, who's a Navy SEAL, and we won't hold that against him.
Yeah.
But great guy. And that was the first time meeting him, and now we're texting, and but he talked about what makes special operations. He took it to another level, and he said that when you come into special operations, you're no longer training to get it right. You're training until you can't get it wrong. Mm-hmm. And I really liked that, because it put into context a lot of the things that why do you keep doing it? And it's because it has to become ingrained in you that standard is the only thing that exists, and it doesn't matter whether you're in the organization or you've left the organization, because you're always going to be a Green Beret. You're always going to represent the regiment, and everyone's always going to look at you to uphold that standard.
I'm almost speechless, because that's so spot on. That's a perfect way to describe it. And somebody asked me not too long ago, because our standard is excellence, right? My staff is phenomenal. The team we built is phenomenal. You've been there a long time. You know the staff, how amazing they are. Couldn't do it without this team. And somebody asked me not too long ago, like, why do you have to have a standard of excellence? Like, why do you guys want to be the best? And my response was, because that's what our community expects.
Mm-hmm. That's what we all expect.
That's our community. Anything less is a failure on our part. That's literally the way I look at it. So, we're in a service industry. We're here to serve the community. How we do that is very nuanced, but at the end of the day, the sole objective of what we do is just to make the lives better of the people in our community, period.
Yeah, and bring everyone together. I think that's one of the cool things about being here, right?
Yep.
You know, it's at Sandlot this weekend. Is that, you know, you have Go Ruck, you know,
Yep.
who has set a standard in what they're doing. And they've brought in all of these high-performing organizations. You know, we were fortunate to speak with Travis Wilson,
Nice.
you know, who came in and talked
Love that
about
guy.
Alpha Elite Performance.
Does he
you know.
fit in here?
So
There's no way he
it was
fits in
very
here.
tight. The two of us in here, it was quite tight.
Yeah.
But a little tighter on that side of the table. But he was great.
Yep.
You know, and he and told his story and founding the company and the experiences that he had, but living that quality, living that soft truth, right? That quality is more important than quantity. You know, and you know what you've talked about here in transforming the Green Beret Foundation is about people. You know, soft truth number one. Right. People are more important than hardware. You know, and you know, Kevin has built 18 Alpha Fitness, and he's preparing the next generation of soft, right? And who we all have a vested interest in looking after. I mean, we've come here and we've activated the Jedburgh podcast to tell these stories,
awesome.
and because we wanted to. Kevin's developing physically. I care about their mental state, and how do we create a mindset of performance and a mindset of excellence in this next generation of leaders, regardless of what they go do, even if not only for the ones who want to go in and become Green Berets and serve the country, but those serving organizations. And if we can take what we've learned and we can pass that on to people in any organization, then I feel like we're doing our job and we're doing what the regiment expects us to do when we no longer serve the regiment itself on active duty. We can still give back.
Yep. We're serving without having to put the uniform on. You know?
So awesome. What's next for the organization?
What's next? Really our focal point right now. So I say all the time, it's easy for us to just sit back, wait for an email to come in or a phone to ring and write a check, help somebody. We're doing a disservice to our community. We have the ability as a foundation, you know, with our brand equity, the resources we have to really get on the forefront of helping our guys. So we sit on some coalitions. We're at the forefront of a lot of medical health and technologies that are out there. And so we're really pushing right now what our community is doing. We're really pushing towards the health and wellness category. Guys are really suffering. You know, we stood up a suicide prevention fund, not just for Green Berets, but for spouses and children that have suicide ideation, which is becoming a lot more prevalent.
Yeah.
And so we're developing a network of resources to support our community from that front. And then again, also putting a lot of resources in our transition. Since 20-year war is over, a lot of guys are transitioning now and trying to figure out what their next step is. So we still are doing casualty support. What we're finding obviously now is most of the casualty support are from training accidents, free fall school, you know, guys getting injured there. We're still supporting Gold Star and surviving spouses. But the last Green Beret that was killed in action was Javier Gutierrez from 7th Group.
San Antonio.
You know, and that was 2 years ago. So, you know, knock on wood, thank God that was the last Green Beret, because we've gone through several years where, you know, there was 9-10 guys dying at a time per year. But since 9/11, you know, we've got our Wall of Honor. Kevin's familiar with that. At the foundation. You walk in, the first thing you see is our Wall of Honor, and it's 192 guys up there. Every death since 9/11 to now. You know, starting with Major Hogan at the Pentagon up to Gutierrez, all in chronological order. And it's a sight, man. You know, you'll go in there and
You're just thinking about it.
you'll see your brothers on there.
You guys talked about it the first time. I was tearing up right there.
Yeah, man. You walk in there and you see your friends on there. You see your brothers on there. And everybody feels something different, but it makes you still proud.
Yeah.
Makes you still proud that we're doing stuff like this, still talking about it, still helping people. And everyone's service is different, you know? So
We have to honor them. As you said, you know, it allows us to sit here at this event. We're sitting under the flagpole.
yeah, it's beautiful.
You know, the sun's going down over here, and all of that is because of the sacrifice that those warriors made. So those brothers of ours made.
Absolutely.
So I got to go down and see it.
Yeah.
Absolutely got to go down and see it.
Yeah. It's fantastic, man.
Awesome. How do you get involved?
Best way to get involved. We got great social media presence.
It is awesome.
Every
day it comes up and I'm like, damn it, we need to do something like that. It's so
Facebook,
good.
Instagram, we kicking it on LinkedIn. And I'll tell you, a lot of that was, and again, it's kind of my for-profit methodologies and philosophies of like, you're building brand equity still, right? You got to build that brand, and our community kind of expects it. But it's also a mix of like cool photos, like the cool guy photos, but then also describing what we do. And an emphasis now is like, we got to start telling our stories more, because there's so much we do that people don't know about. Right. And so it's about telling those stories, but then also our community being okay with us telling those stories. Yeah. Keeping people anonymous that want to stay anonymous, but letting people know how we're helping. But greenberetfoundation.org. If people need help, specifically Green Berets or their family, go online, request for support. It's very simple. Just fill it out. You can see a drop-down menu of all the areas we support. If people want to donate, we have a myriad of ways to donate online. Number one rule in sales I learned in the for-profit world: never make it difficult for people to give you money.
That's true.
Right? You can donate every sort of way. We accept cryptocurrency even now. Like,
awesome.
Like we
remove every barrier.
And what I've seen is, in 2021, we had our best year of fundraising ever.
In a year where everything was supposed to be depressed.
We raised the most money last year in 2021. So things have been fantastic. And more important to that, we remain 85%, which is 85 cents of every dollar that we get is donated directly back into our programs and services.
That's awesome.
So that's a significant statistic. And something that a lot of our donors look at. Because when a donor looks at me, I have a fiduciary responsibility. I mean that, like, I'm serious about that, because when a donor gives us money, I got to make sure to look them in the eye and be like, this is where your money's going.
Yep.
So that's all I got, I guess.
Awesome.
I mean, I could talk about this all day, but
well, Kevin, Brent, I appreciate you taking some time out of your day, sitting down here with us, and I appreciate your leadership. So both of you guys,
thanks,
and Kevin, your partnership with me in the podcast, as you know, means a tremendous amount to me. And Brent, thank you. Thank you for representing the regiment. Thank you for supporting our brothers and continuing the mission.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on.
All right. We'll see you in San Antonio.
Yes.
At Long Tab Brewing.
For some Tex-Mex. Long Tab, baby. Long Tab's awesome.
Yeah, you haven't.
I'll get there.
Cool.
American Jedburghs went on to form the foundation of the United States Special Forces and the Special Activities Directorate of the Central Intelligence Agency. Thanks for listening to the Jedburgh Podcast. I'm your creator and host, Fran Racioppi. Join us next week for a new episode on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out on YouTube for full episodes, highlights, and other behind-the-scenes content. If you like what you heard, give us a like and leave a review. Follow me, Fran Racioppi, Talent War Group, and our sponsor, Jersey Mike Subs, on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Send your comments and inquiries to media@talentwargroup.com. As former members of Special Operations Forces, the Jedburgh Podcast and Talent War Group contribute a percentage of all profits to Special Operations Warrior Foundation, supporting the families of our fallen warriors. Thanks for joining us on this episode. How you prepare today determines success tomorrow.